Hello everyone, welcome to Cove Media. Sorry I've been gone for a couple of weeks, just had a lot of stuff going on in life. Didn't have time to get back to this, but here I am, and here we are. So whether you're here to learn, watch, or just decompress for a little bit, I'm glad you're here. We're going to get into our coding journey together, get right back into things. So we've been working on our very own game of Tetris using Python, and at this point we have a functionally working game. We'll just go ahead, let me zoom in so we can see the code nice and easy. Full screen, there we go. And I'm just going to run it real quick, and we're going to make sure everything's working properly. Should be, but you just never know, weird things can happen. Whenever it decides to catch up. There we go. So here we go, we have our game space, we have our game window, we have a very basic score tracker, level tracker, the line tracker at the very top. It doesn't really look the best yet, but we'll as we continue on, we will spruce things up, make it look nicer. And everything seems to be working properly, so I'm going to stop the game and we'll get right into it. So today we're going to be adding a very important Tetris feature, and that is the preview. So if in most any version of Tetris you're going to play, you have the ability to see what your next piece is. And so we're going to be adding that functionality to the game. And with that, we're actually going to be expanding our window a little bit so that we can comfortably add that to the screen, but it also later on let us take those components we already have where we're tracking the score, the level we're on, and how many lines we have done, and move those over and make the overall experience cleaner for the user. So, all right. So first thing we're going to do, we have some stuff to add up top. First thing we're going to add is a constant variable we're going to call panel width. And so this is going to be where the preview is going to sit. I'm going to set that to 150 pixels. And with that, we have a new screen width. And that's just going to be our panel width, or our actual, the width plus panel width. There we go. And then, just checking my notes, make sure. Oh, don't need to add anything. Now, one thing I do want to, oh, yep, I know the first thing we add is this right here. This is how we're doing all of our variables in our actual code. This lets us very easily reset everything. And if you want to take the time to comment, I am curious to see what you guys think of this, or how this functions. There we go. Because it's the first time I'm actually doing this. It's just a different way. Saw it, started playing with it, decided to go with it for this particular instance. Not sure if I'll do it again going forward in other projects, but it's just something different to do to track our variables. And in this case, it makes it really easy to reset our state. But we'll keep on going. So we're going to scroll down, and we have a few lines to add in the actual game. So sorry, I kind of skipped. So this in our reset state, this is all of our main variables we're using for the actual game. So we had current, and then we added next. So next piece, that's exactly what it is. That's how we're going to track the next piece in the flow of things. And so whenever with next piece, we have the function new piece being called with it, or being used with it. All right. So now I'm going to scroll down just a little bit, and we're going to add our first piece. Not going to be too much going on, adding too much today, but thankfully. So first things first is we're going to come down, go through our code. We have our, while the game's running, looking for certain key presses. It's looking for our game state. Or scroll down, and if not game state, so if not game over, so if the game's actually running, we have these lines of code being ran, and towards the bottom, there's this line right here. For me, it's 161. we're going to change it. So state current. So whenever the piece gets placed, it is going to copy next. We want the next piece. And then what we need to do is state next equals new piece. So what we're doing here is after our piece is placed, the state current will become our next piece, and then we generate a new next piece. All right, and now all we are going to have to do is we're going to expand what's on our HUD. Before I get too ahead of myself, I remember now there's one thing I have to change. I have to remember where it is, and I apologize. I'm glad I remembered it because it would have been... It's a pretty simple change. Let me zoom out a little bit just to make sure. Basically what I'm looking for is, I remember with our new screen width, oh, that's the very bottom top. There we go. I forgot, up at the very top of our code with our actual screen, we're swapping out width with screen width. Otherwise it wouldn't be our, whenever we ran the game, what would happen, because I did this when I was working on it. The game would run, we'd have our actual game screen, but we would never see the preview because the space for it just wasn't there. So now we're going to come back down, I'm sorry. And under our HUD, and here, where our current, our score tracking and everything is, we're going to add a couple lines. And we're going to add some new code. So we're going to have our, we can call one first thing is our next label. And so this is just a little bit of text we're putting onto the screen just to denote that, hey, this is the next piece. There we go. And set it to true and give it our text color. And then we got to put it onto the screen, screen.lit. Our next label. And we're going to put it at, its location will be the screen width plus an additional 20 pixels at 20 pixels from the top. Alrighty, and so now for row index, row in enumerate, state. Oh, let me just go ahead and do this. State.next. We want to grab the shape. And row for column. So what we're doing here, we're grabbing our next piece and we're making sure we're grabbing the correct piece and we're putting it into our preview area. And enumerate row. If our val is Pygame, if there is a value, it's going to draw it. Dot rect. Oh. On our screen, we're going to grab the next piece, color of it specifically, and then, I need to, sorry, have to make sure I have my notes to make sure I'm putting it in the correct location. 20, even though I have the notes, I still put them in the wrong place sometimes. our column index times 20 plus row index times 20. This is, and again, this is how we're putting it, actually drawing it to the screen. Dot rect screen background, and so we draw the colors, and then we put a border around it so we can tell where the grid is at. 20. It's not. So this is very much, if you want to, you could copy and paste some of this over. I don't, because I just like showing the full process. 50 plus row index times 20. So here we have to add one more thing, and this is just the actual, this last bit here, that's the thickness. And that should be everything. Pretty easy overall. Just going to run our code real quick. Make sure everything is correct. There we go. So now we are showing our next piece on the right side of our screen. And there we go. It is updating correctly. Just going to let it run through a few times. And there we go. And so what will eventually happen, we have our header up top. We'll eventually be moving all these over here as well. Drop the next piece. All right. And so there we go. We have accomplished what we wanted to accomplish today. I'm just going to stop our game from running. So there we go. Our preview is working like it should be. So going forward, some things we'll be adding soon is an actual preview, so a ghost of the piece you have, so you can better place it on the bottom, as well as a instant drop feature. But those are for future lessons. I'm glad all of you stopped by. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you next time.